Hiya, welcome to Pickler The Podcast. I'm your co-host, Stacie Townsend, and we have a new co-host today. It is not John, the People's Champ Davison. It's Podcast Nick. Hey, Podcast Nick.
Hey, Stacie. Thanks for having me on tonight. I'm excited to be in front of the camera for once.
I know we talk about you almost on every episode, and the people finally get to see the face.
That's right. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm really hoping that I can add something as a casual pickleball player to the content.
Oh, for sure. Well, Nick, you are probably about the 90% of the pickleball population, so I'm sure you're going to add a ton of value.
Awesome.
So,
Happy to be here.
I'm going to just dive right in because we have an amazing guest tonight, and he had quite the success on the tennis circuit, played at Wake Forest, and also was a junior champion at Wimbledon, and I believe USTA champion on both singles and doubles on the junior circuit. So pretty incredible tennis career, and made quite the splash announcing his turn to pickleball on Instagram. I'm pretty sure I saw it all over the place, and I'd like to welcome Noah Rubin. Welcome, Noah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So for those of you that did not see this Instagram post, it was pretty hysterical. Noah, you insinuated that maybe you were making the jump from tennis to pickleball because of your physical characteristics. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually am average height. And when I went to the MLP event in Columbus, people were like, wait, you're actually just normal height. And I was like, yes, but my friends in the tennis world love to pick me apart. And on my podcast and a few other interviews, have always brought up, they call me a little guy, little fellow, whatever it is. So people assume, who haven't met me before, that I must be like 5'1", you know? And I'm not. But I thought it would be, a kind of fun, clever idea. Just the idea that, pickleball is half or a quarter the size of a tennis court. Tennis court is way too big for me. I'm tired of running around the court. Pickleball makes sense. It clicked. And here we are.
So how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
5'9".
Yeah, no, when I went to this MLP event, they're like, this is just our height. But I will say, when my fiance when she started traveling with me to tennis tournaments, it is true. I mean, we're talking like average is like 6'2" to 6'5" now on the men's side. And there are a lot of women on that 5'11" to 6'1". So I am in the minority and used to being there. But yeah, little fellow, that's what I've been called a few times.
Are you hoping for any new nicknames maybe on the pickleball circuit?
Well, it's been interesting. I mean, acceptance in some areas and not in others. So let's even out that playing field a little bit before we get into nicknames.
Sure. So I'm sure I did not do a good job summarizing your tennis career. Could you give us a little background on your tennis career?
Yeah, first picture of my camera roll is kind of the first ball I hit. I was 1.5 years old, so didn't have much of a choice. But it was kind of in all facets of life, from art to music. But tennis is kind of what I had a knack for. Started early on. A lot of people when I was even 4, taking full swings out there, and played my first event when I was 7. First international event when I was 11, and then basically from 11 on, I was top 5 in my world. Top 5 in the world for my age from 5 to 18. I won junior Wimbledon and what we call Kalamazoo, which is the junior championships in the country that gets me into the US Open. So that was a big summer that led me into Wake Forest, which a lot of people thought I was going to go straight pro at that point, kind of being top 5 in the world. But I decided to go to school, and Wake Forest was an interesting choice, to say the least, for a lot of people. But it was between that and UVA. UVA was one of the country. And yeah, it was an interesting ride. Had a good year. Was points away from winning the NCAA title. I was a freshman.
Wow.
Lost 2 matches that year. And thought I got out what I could. Went pro at that point, and it was a quick adjustment. I did really well. So it's tough to regret. I wish I had another year at school, but I had a great year out of school. So it's, again, tough to regret. Moved up 100 spots basically every month until I got to 150 in the world. Wow. And then started dealing with some nagging injuries. I, actually broke my wrist, was out for a few months, and then I started seeing the ups and downs of professional tennis and just how demanding the sport is and just really how awful it is at times. But yeah, regained some momentum, had moments, played Roger Federer second round Australian Open, had a few set points against him, had a good summer, my best year 2018, beat John Isner, who was top 10 in the world, got to 125, which is my career high ranking. And yeah, the pandemic mixed with some other injuries was putting me in a tough place. I was dealing with my own anxiety and depression, and kind of led me to a few breaking points and finally the end one, which, I'm here now, and kind of said maybe I needed to take a step back from tennis and see what the rest of the world looks like. So wasn't an instant, hey, tennis to pickleball transition necessarily. I didn't leave tennis and say I have to go play pickleball from this, but it happened very quickly, in a matter of days. So it does look like that on the surface.
So that's
way
an
better than
incredible
my
career. I do have a question about the transition, though. I mean, obviously, you said your first picture in your camera roll was 1.5 years old. You've been playing the game so long. Is it emotional to kind of leave that behind and move to a new space, or how'd you feel about making that decision?
Yeah, it's been, dwindling a little bit with some of the stuff. I mean, I've been talking about the issues with tennis for so long. I started a platform called Behind the Racquet, which kind of highlights the mental health aspects of it. Yeah, so for me, I'm also not using the word retirement. I think I'm not, fully accepting it yet. I mean, my fiance jokes, she thinks I'm never going to pick up a racket competitively ever again. I'm 26. I could come back in 2 years if I really, if pickleball is not for me, and I have to see the tennis world and see it through to top 50, which has kind of always been a goal of mine. But we don't know. Yeah. But right now I'm at peace with it 100%. I actually just helped out a friend and coached a friend who I beat in the finals of Junior Wimbledon, and I helped coach him this past week in Las Vegas. And people ask, was that peaceful for you? Are you wishing to get back out there? And for me, I'm really excited about pickleball. I think that's kind of where my head's at. I think this proved it this past week, and it showed me that I don't have this real urge to get on the tennis court. It's just a lot for me right now. So we'll see where this new path leads.
So tell us where you're at on your pickleball journey. When was day one, and what have you been doing, and where are you now?
Real day one was freshman year of high school, when they put out a couple of nets on our gym floor, and they said, "Hey, Noah, we think you might be okay at this." But yeah, day one in real life was this summer. Picking it up, and obviously it's not quite as physical as tennis, so I'm finding, and it's addictive. So I'm finding these practice sessions, and I look down, I'm like, we've been here for 4 hours, and it's just kind of how it goes. Obviously the singles game is a smoother transition. I'm a tennis player. It's how it is. The doubles, the nuances, it's definitely things to learn and pick up on. But I think I have, an ability with my speed, my quickness. I think leading into next year, putting a lot of time in November, a heavy December schedule of just practice and making sure we're getting out there. I'm excited to see improvements and see how it, pushes forward.
What's the most difficult thing you're working on? The dinking is that the stereotypical answer?
Yeah, of course. I think one thing that clicked recently was resetting. I think was kind of, there's knee-jerk reactions as a tennis player, and I was known for my defense and my speed. But there's no kitchen in tennis. Like for me, I had to hit a specific ball to make sure I neutralized that point where, in pickleball, you could be in any position, but if you somehow manage to put it in the middle of the court, so they don't earn any, and it's, short, great dink, like you're resetting that point and you can be back to neutral. So to knee-jerk reaction from a really quick ball to be like, oh, I just have to put it back there instead of, oh, I have to lob it deep in the corner or keep a low slice, which is kind of, what my tennis head is telling me. Yeah, that's taking a second. But again, the times it clicked, it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting it. I'm picking up on it a little bit, and, luckily not taking too long. But, the best I've ever, the best statement I got was, you're not playing like a tennis player. And that was the hope from the start. Was I wanted to re-implement tennis stuff as I went along. But to start, I wanted to come out as a pickleball player and try to make the right decisions early on.
And you have a first tournament in mind? I don't think you've played for a tournament yet.
I have
right?
not. No, we're being fairly strategic about everything. As much as I'm competitive and want to be the best in the world, there's tremendous marketing involved in this as well. And that's stuff that excites me. I mean, my brain is the marketing business side as well. So, of course, when I get out there, I want to kick everybody's ass. But besides that, it's I'm seeing the pickleball world and how many eyes are there, and the freedom that it allows that tennis hasn't allowed in the past. And I want to make the best impression. And obviously Sam Querrey made his announcement, but I think I'm basically one of, if not the first tennis player to kind of do the full transition and see what it's like.
So is there anything that motivated you to be the first to have like this great successful junior career and try and make the leap?
To be the first in pickleball?
Yeah, to be one of the first kind of notable tennis players that had a name for himself kind of come over the line.
There was a red carpet out for somebody to take it, and nobody was. And I was fortunate enough that I was playing the Hamptons this summer. Ryan Harwood, I was playing tennis with him. He's a co-owner with Gary Vee of the Fives and MLP. So he's the one that kind of introduced like, hey, like take a look at this real quick. Like you think but you don't. And once you open and push the curtain back, you're like, okay, there's something here. So there was a red carpet out for anybody to take it. Again, I do enjoy the marketing, so I don't know how many other players would have made a short video or whatever, and going to play upon that. But yeah, there's just so much potential here in something that is fairly similar to something that I know already and I'm comfortable with. So it was a no-brainer to at least invest some time in.
So tell us about this behind the racket piece. I know the mental awareness is important to you, and I want to learn more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I dealt with my own anxiety and depression. This was, in 2018. I mean, brutal. I mean, tennis is an absolutely brutal sport. You're on the road, usually alone because you can't afford it in any other way. Your friends out there, but no coach, no physio. You're on the road for 30 weeks a year plus training. It gets very lonely, depressing, dark. You're not making a lot of money, and you're playing the best players in the world. And it was a lot, and I didn't really know. I mean, you have an inkling that, other people are dealing with this, but until you really ask questions, you don't. So went up to a few of my friends that are players and said, hey, can I just talk to you and record it? And, I don't even know what this is going to be. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet, but let's do something. I think we just have to start the conversation. And, in a matter of 3 months, it blew up, and CBS Sunday Morning was on top of it. And then it kind of expanded from there, and try to keep it as organic as possible. But it's something that's really important to me, something that was extremely prevalent in the tennis world that was leading to, drug abuse, alcoholism, depression, anxiety, really serious stuff. And, as much as mental health is like a fad right now, which is great, it's at least continuing the conversation. We have to do more and more because everybody deals with it.
Are you going to continue that with the pickleball journey?
Yeah, I think everybody's first joke is like, "Oh, you can't do your picture because you can't see through." And I was like, "Yeah, I know we can figure something out." But yeah, I think it's for me looking at this, as much as I'm competing with these guys, I think if we all work together, there's kind of a bigger pot of gold at the end for everybody. And it kind of behooves, the leagues and the players, the storytelling. I mean, how much this has helped tennis in a lot of ways, I think can only aid pickleball, whichever league I decide to be playing with or multiple. I want to bring that in. I just have to see if I do behind the paddle or just keep the same name, but we'll do something.
No, it's great. I know we have talked with other pro players that have made mental health a topic of conversation. And I think it's great. As a former softball player, like that was top of mind. If you're in a good headspace, you perform better too. So it's important to not only your health, your everyday health, but also your performance on the court.
100%.
Nick, I'm sure even you driving in the car, right? Like your mental game is top-notch priority.
Yeah, absolutely. I can always tell if I'm having a good day mentally, I feel good in the car. And if not, it's like, I just want to come in and I don't even want to drive. Like, we go to these events and it's like, My heart's not in it. So I can imagine, even on a bigger stage, it's got to be tough to keep that mentality. And toll it takes to, when you're not in that headspace and kind of force it has got to be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's an individual sport, tennis, and if you're not feeling it, you got to suck it up for the most part, and nobody else is. I'm not sure about the car situation. I don't know if you have a second driver, if that substitutions are possible, but it's similar. If you're not willing to drive that day, nobody's going to drive that car, and for me, it's the same feel. And if you lose that opportunity in tennis, it feels like you lost a tremendous chance to move and improve your ranking. And as I put it in perspective, if Roger Federer didn't play a tournament for 2 years, he would come back with a ranking of 0 in the world. LeBron comes back after 2 years. He's on the same team. He's playing the same stuff. Yeah, Roger Federer is going to get a couple wild cards, but his ranking will be 0 in the world, and he has to work his way. So it's demanding, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and takes a toll. And there's really a lot of issues within professional tennis that leads to this, and that's where I've always hoped for improvements. But hopefully, pickleball learns a thing or two from the good and the bad that tennis has brought.
Is there anything that's top of mind that you hope pickleball has or doesn't have?
I'm already seeing both sides of it. I'm seeing issues with pickleball already that are a little disappointing, and I'm seeing great things. MLP took place at an event that I played a tennis tournament at. It was at Ohio State Indoor Center. We had a challenger level match. I was 120 in the world. The guy I played was 90 in the world, and we had 8 people watching us. And we were basically the best in the world in, a top 5 sport. So for us, it's to see MLP, to see 500 people screaming, chanting, going nuts. That was amazing. That really was. And that showed that, because I really didn't know if pickleball could even, get the engagement of 100 people, watching. I wasn't certain of that. So to see 500, I think the team event is amazing, but to see 500, it proves to me that in person, for sure, you can get 2,500, 5,000, I think, in a stadium and really enjoying themselves. So, but on the other side of it, it's disjointed. The leagues, obviously between PPA, it seems like, APP and MLP are working together for the most part, are fine, somewhat hand in hand. Oh, my cat's jumping. But yeah, PPA kind of standing alone, exclusive contracts. I guess there's things I could capitalize myself on, but in looking at pickleball in the longer term, it's problematic to some degree. Yeah, it does. You don't want a monopoly in a sport because it doesn't promote evolution. But at the same time, you want people to work together at least. You want them to be on the same page. And it seems like there's major disjointedness between everybody, and it is problematic.
And what are your thoughts? I'm sure you saw the recent PPA announcement on Vibe Pickleball League, and just to catch everybody up to speed.
Quick follow on Instagram yesterday. Yeah. I didn't even know what it was. I asked my agent, and it was kind of their knockoff MLP. It seems to be.
It will be interesting. I mean, on one hand, right, you have 2 billionaires funneling a ton of money into the sport of pickleball, which can only mean good things, right? Like PPA's had pickleball on CBS twice now. That's pretty impressive. On MLP, they're on CBS Sports. They're all over the media with all these ownership announcements. And you could only think that the Vibe must have a similar structure. So maybe we'll have some more media coverage. So that's one hand. But to your point, where is there a downfall because of the divide, or do you have a watered down product because all the pro players are split between the 2 tours, and how does that affect the long term?
Yeah, I mean, I try to use my experience in tennis, and I look towards like accessibility for fans and sponsors. Sponsors, I'm not sure if it necessarily impacts. I think if the product is good, the product's good. On the fan side, it could be an issue of just the simple understanding of what this all means, how they all connect, what rankings am I looking at, what's the next event. And that's always been a difficulty with tennis was, hey, I'm playing, a mid-tier tournament. It's not an ATP event. It's right below guys from 80 to 200 in the world. There's one going on in Australia. There's one going on in South America. There's one in the US. What are those points due to this and that direct? And it's very tough. And you see the issue, and that does equate to lost dollars at the end of the day. So I'm hoping the products are great. If it just mean, again, they're both very wealthy guys with a lot of connects. So we're hoping to see that Vibe is going to bring in, some names that are going to make the headlines as well. But who knows? I don't know what that looks like. I mean, with MLP, there's only 6 events. They kind of changed their format for next year as well, which is interesting. I'm not 100% certain that's the way to go. There's so many changes. It's changing by the day, so it's really tough to say.
That's right. Nick is, as you said at the top of the show, is a casual player. Nick probably is more involved than your typical casual player because he's podcast Nick and he's on all the podcasts and knows he's in the know. But Nick, what's your thoughts? Are you having trouble keeping it off straight, or where's your head at?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a gimme question because I did have to ask Stacie right before the show started what tour the APP and the PPA was to keep them straight in my head. But yeah, it's really confusing as a casual watcher. I do enjoy the MLP events the most. I think that they are the most entertaining and the most accessible for a casual viewer. And I think the team aspect of it makes it easy to root for something in the early days of the sport, because there isn't this big name factor that other individual sports have. I mean, there's not the Tiger Woods, the Mickelsons, the Federers, and such like that. And when you're looking at just a regular tournament, maybe you don't recognize any of the names. But with the team aspect, maybe you're a casual player in Florida and you see the Florida Smash and you're like, okay, yeah, I can root for that team. I want to tune in when their games are on. So I think the fragmenting, from my point of view, definitely hurts the sport. And that's just, the way I see it. But I think you touched a lot on that, Noah, with how spread out things can be and how it hurts the fans.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because I look at tennis and I think the direction Pickle's kind of going in, if they keep a little bit of that team aspect as well, it's what I wanted more for tennis, was the understanding hey, let's not promote individuals yet. It's so young. I mean, obviously you have the Johns and you have McGuffins and that's fine. But at the same point, let this be entertaining. Let it be a festival feel surrounding a cool thing. Let's chant, scream, get a drink, get good food, shop around a little bit. And then once that spreads out, and if that means it's on 2 different tours, fine. If that means it's going to get to more locations, sure. Because we're only talking 6 events with MLP. If it was already 20 events, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But there's definitely room for more. So at that point, once that expands, once people are following, then you can kind of say, okay, now we have a couple guys and girls that we want to put on a pedestal, market a little bit more, get that fame. That's fine. But I always love, because names come and go, people do like it, but I think people love defending a team, love wearing a jersey, love having that connection. And again, I mean, no offense to anybody, I'm not a tremendous baseball fan, but I can't wait to get a beer and a hot dog and, sit down and just enjoy the day. And I think Pickle could be more exciting and more interactive and have that feel, not necessarily worrying about who's playing,
So is it safe to say you think teams is the way to go rather than these individual or mixed doubles kind of entries? That's a traditional format?
Yeah, I don't necessarily care who does it. I spent some time with, Steve Kuhn and talking to him and seeing his vision. And, it's actually very interesting. And he has a pretty great take on it. But yeah, I think we should stop individuals yesterday. I don't, it doesn't do anything. I don't know. I don't get any real excitement out of it. I don't see the players excited about it. So for me, it's been extremely problematic because you're not tennis. You're going to lose that individual aspect to tennis all day long. Let's have fun. As much as, I don't want to make light of Pickle by any means. It's still going to be competitive and professional, but let's have team competition. Let's have jerseys. Let's have that feel. I think the long days of individual events, it's going to wear down players to a point that they don't want to be a part of it. And I don't think fans are going to want to be watching it necessarily. And they have a lot to prove.
No, I think that's well said. I think with the team format too, you get more parity. So more interesting matches. I think
men and women on the same playing field, which I think, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, a dream breaker where a man can play a woman in a singles one-on-one, you're not finding anywhere else. And even though it's pickle and it's new and people make fun of it still, that's really cool. I mean, this is an athletic sport, especially in singles. I mean, this is something people want to see. You have to up that, to the max.
Yeah, I think the teams package is such a unique product that they've really got to capitalize on it. So
yeah. Barking dogs.
Sorry, it is Halloween tonight, so there was a trick or treater and a barking dog.
As your dog barks, my cat runs under the bed. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, hopefully, she can be quieted down. My face is turning red. Apologies.
No, come on, it's fine.
So, Noah, what else should we know about you? You said you like the business and marketing stuff. What else you got cooking? What else should we know?
Oh. Yeah, I think I'm just going. I just want to help the sport grow. I want to use what I've learned in tennis and everything that I've worked for there to come, and I hope that they trust me because I've been a part of it and I've looked at it from a different lens, not just a player, and say, hey, this is what I do believe. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but this is what I do believe Pickle needs to get to the next level, to be where it needs to be. And for me, it's just so exciting to kind of see growth, as much as, I'm learning the sport, it's, myself and seeing the improvement there. I want to see it in the sport of pickle as a whole and seeing it improve and getting new crowds and bigger festivals and cooler locations and, getting the celebrities more involved, at the events themselves. I think there's just so much freedom with it that can be done. It's exciting, and I hope to kind of be a part of it. And I hope, the players, some of them that have talking a little smack online every once in a while, I hope they understand that we're all kind of in this together, and we can all do well.
What stereotypes did you have in your mind? Because all tennis players have this perception of pickleball. Did you ever have that perception and have to be
the players, the sport?
Otherwise?
What are we talking about?
Anything. So you seem like you have a really refreshing attitude towards pickleball, especially for a tennis player. Which the stereotype is tennis players, they needed some convincing, and then once they got the paddle in the hand, they fell in love, right?
Yeah.
So what about you?
I think for me it was more of a jealousy early on. It was like, why are our courts being taken over, and I get it, it's simple supply and demand, but also like, why is Tennis Channel now showing pickle and not tennis? Like, what's happening? This is something I worked my whole life for. This is a few century-year-old sport that we're losing out to a freaking wiffle ball. Like, what are we doing? And then this is for me. For me, it was I looked both ways after I got past the initial reaction. It was like, no, something's here. What is it? And it's effortlessly accessible. You can be put anywhere. Anybody can play it. It's fun. It's engaging. It's bringing people. There are so many ways. So yeah, the stereotypes were there. And I'm not saying the doubles is the most athletic sport in the world by any means, but at the same time, there's something here and there's something to be said for just the enjoyment of watching it and seeing the intricacies of it. And it's exciting just to watch it grow. So yeah, I mean, with the players, it's funny. I think a lot of them, they haven't been at this level of an athlete, quote unquote, or in this level of fame. So some of them are asking me questions about kind of, just the ins and outs of whether it's having an agent or this contract or what do I do with this? Because, for me, it's not shocking that they don't know, but I don't think about it until they bring it up to me. And obviously more than happy to help in any way I can. But, this is a new world for a lot of them, besides maybe a Ben Johns who's been playing PPA events, which for 108 years or something. And, besides a few of those guys that have been around the block, the new ones in the past year or two are still not fully understanding what it means to be an athlete at this level and some fame. And I think there's a lot to learn there, but it's fun for them. And it's fun to see them having fun with it.
So do you have any advice or thoughts on this complicated issue with tennis courts, or maybe the noise issues with pickleball? Have you thought about that?
I think we're going to see it settle down soon. I think people were just so reactive, which was smart. It was impulsive and reactive. They said, pickleball's blowing up. Let's knock down these courts because we don't have it sold every hour, and pickleball we do. and boom, you knock it down, and then the tennis people aren't happy. But I think once we kind of even out a little bit and there's enough money flowing to the sport, we're going to start to understand that there's enough room for everybody. There's going to be more pickleball clubs, exploding, out of nowhere. I know a lot of people that are working on it in New York. I'm trying to help out with that. And so once that comes about, it's just taking a little bit of time. I think we have a place for everybody.
Nick, what do you think of the noise?
I honestly haven't heard much about the noise, so I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that you have a court in a neighborhood, and 7 a.m. comes around and the sun's up, and you've got your first players out there. Someone's probably upset about it on a Saturday morning, but I don't know if it's any different than maybe like a baseball field being close to a neighborhood. The sound of a metal bat and a baseball is probably pretty close to the same sound. It's not as often maybe as the pickleball stuff, but I think that there's something to be said about a sport in general, that there's always going to be some byproduct of noise or extra traffic or congestion, things like that. But I think that's kind of the point of offering facilities, is that people use them. So I think it's just something they're going to have to deal with.
You could put a court anywhere. I think that's what the issue comes down to. Since they put on concrete at a playground and you see it and it's done. And yes, I will say I'm still not used to the noise. From the outside, when I'm not playing, it still is fairly annoying, especially when there's 8 courts going on. And but from the inside, it's kind of satisfying, the noise at times, hearing that. But yeah, I think it's the issue because you could put a line and a court anywhere you want, and it happens to be close to households. And yeah, they do play at 7 a.m. at times.
Yeah. So speaking of playing, Noah. Oh, sorry, I got a question. You talked about a couple of the players. If you were to, have you talked to anyone about maybe being a doubles partner with them yet, or do you have like a dream doubles partner that you would just love to play with?
Again, the marketing side, trying to build a narrative of tennis into pickle. I hit a lot with Alex Newman here, and so we're definitely going to play an event one way or another, because he's just been great and super nice to me and helping me through this. But I'm actually haven't made fully an announcement yet, but bringing a girl over from tennis to play mixed with. So that's going to be exciting because, just that boy girl and the whole story of tennis, I think that was needed, and trying to get another guy as well. So yeah, we're coming in, we're disrupting a little bit. I can't wait for more Facebook messages or comments, and yeah, I get it. But so it's, I think Tyson was one of the first ones that I saw kind of on my feed, and he built his brand. He was smart about it. I think it would be fun to kind of be on the same side to see that energy. But I think building that kind of tennis team and that matchup and that narrative, that's what everybody wants to see, right? That's what I was going to say age old, what are we talking, a couple of years now, but, age old conversation kind of looks like of what we can do and the effects, but I'm excited for it.
Nick, I don't think we're going to get a real announcement, but can we get like a timing of when we can expect some news,
like a
Noah?
week? So the girl, about a week, kind of where I'm leaning towards come 2023, will be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll kind of have everything finalized.
Okay. All right.
So give me enough time to settle in, get ready for the next year, and go from there.
And respond to all of your comments, I suppose.
And respond.
Can we expect similar quality Instagram posts for all these announcements, or are they going to be more toned down?
A little bit more toned down, but also not. I mean, I'm really, I'm trying to get a videographer and, kind of on staff and help. I'm trying to make a little bit of a base here in New York. Obviously Dreamland's a hub. You got California, a couple random ones like Utah, Florida. But yeah, New York's going to be a hub. Spoken to a few top pros already, about kind of making the transition, because, it could be anywhere. I really, you could play pickleball anywhere. So I'm, making it work here, and, I want to get some real footage. I want to make it fun, exciting. I mean, I made a joke about how short I am, and, look what it did. So I think you play around with it and it gets a lot of eyes on it. It's only good stuff.
Well, you come across really authentic, so I think that helps. And New York, I mean, I've seen tons of headlines about new court space. It's just growing like
insane.
crazy
New York Times has a new article almost every day about pickleball, whether pros or cons of it. But yeah, no, there's definitely facilities are going to be popping up left, right, and center. There's money in it, and people want to be a part of it. So we'll see.
So what are your goals for 2023?
Enjoy it. It sounds so cliche, and I try not to do anything like that, but I think this could be really exciting. I think it could be like all the stuff I wanted to do in tennis, I can make happen in pickle, and that just excites the hell out of me. And we don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know where my ranking is going to be. I think I can compete at the top level, but it's going to be fun, and I like making noise where I go. So we'll see.
Awesome. Any final questions, Nick? If not, I have one more, and then we'll open it up for Noah.
I don't think I have anything. I'll let you take the final question, Stace.
All right. Well, it's all yours, Noah. Is there anything else you want the pickleball community to know about you before you start your debut on the court? And be careful, this is recorded. We can always go back to it.
No, not at all. I want them to know that I am here for the betterment of the sport. I want to see it grow. I for the few people that do take it personally, I apologize. Not trying to take any spots here, but yeah, I'm going to be a pain in the court though. So if you're playing me, gotta watch out a little bit. I wouldn't take that too gently. They've gone the opposite direction, thinking I have no chance, which seems like a weird take for me, but we'll see where I am 6 months from now, or even 3 months from now.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to follow you. So everybody out there who's watching, all the Pickler fans, please go and support Noah and all his mystery partners that he's going to bring in from the tennis world. We'll be watching you and cheering you on, Noah. And don't forget to subscribe to Pickler's YouTube and sign up for our free pickleball newsletter, where you can get some free pickleball tips and more, keep up on the latest news in the sport. And we don't have John here to take us out. Noah, how we always take it out is we cheers the camera. So I'm going to turn it over to Podcast Nick if you want to take us out. And if you don't have a cup, just give us a fist bump and we'll close it out.
All right. So whatever you're drinking, just hold it up to the camera. And how we end things is Pickler out.
Pickler out.